Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today on this episode, let's talk about jerkbaits and how you can get more action out of your jerkbaits, because jerkbaits are already known for having a ton of action. In fact, you impart the action, and they're very customizable as far as the type of cadence and movement that you impart to these baits. But one of the key things that's really important for fishing a jerkbait, in my book, is having the ability for this bait to have a good range of motion and have a good wide swinging, jerking side to side action. So one of the things that I think a lot of people don't think about is how the line that you choose really affects your jerkbait. And so one thing you got to remember about fishing line is that heavier line, so the thicker diameter fishing line out there, is going to create more drag. And then the thinner the line is going to create less drag. And whenever you have drag, that's going to reduce the action, the freedom of movement that a bait has. So with jerkbaits, number one, I like to use fluorocarbon 100% of the time. And the reason for that is fluorocarbon sinks, so it can get this bait down to a deeper depth. It's not bringing the nose of the bait up at all because the line's floating up. The line will actually float down. So I just feel like fluorocarbon gives it a better action. But say I was to use 20-pound test fluorocarbon on a jerkbait, I'm going to get much less side-to-side range of motion compared to using 8 or 10-pound tests that I'm using today. Okay, so if you're trying to get the maximum amount of action out of your bait, use a smaller diameter. Another key to getting more action out of a bait is using the right type of fluorocarbon too. And so the line that I like to use, I use 2 different types of line, but I really lean on one more than the other, and that is Seaguar Invisex is my favorite line to be fishing with a jerkbait. And the reason for that is, especially when it's cold, fluorocarbon does tend to get a little bit wiry and stiffer, okay? And so that's gonna reduce the range of motion. Invisex is designed to be a much more soft, supple, and lower memory. So I feel like it gives the most range of motion to a jerkbait, over other lines. Another line that I like to use is Seaguar Tatsu. Tatsu is like top of the line. It's a dual structure fluorocarbon, so they have 2 resins that they put on there. It's like, it's a little bit more high density core, and then a coating on the outside that essentially, gives it less memory, more freedom of movement. So both of those lines are going to work great, but Invisex is not only less expensive, but it is designed to be soft and supple, and so it's really good with jerkbaits. So just pay attention to, no matter what line you use, pay attention to how soft and low memory a line is, because that's really what you want for a jerkbait, because it gives it a good range of motion, especially when it gets cold. It's not as important when it's warm, but when it's cold, when this is arguably most effective, that's when you want to use a line that is designed to be a little bit softer. Now, there are times when I don't necessarily want, to get this bait down deeper, or to have like a huge wide jerking motion. I might want a little bit more of a narrow track, something a little bit more subtle. That's when you can use heavier lines to your advantage, and you can use higher diameter lines to achieve a more narrow swinging action. And also, generally, I don't do heavier lines for that reason, but I will go to heavier lines quite often to reduce the depth that this bait will run. So if I'm fishing, an area that maybe has some grass that grows up to 2 foot below the surface, and this bait on 10-pound test is gonna run like 4 foot, I might go up to 15 or 17-pound test to keep that bait from running down to that below 2 foot range. So I'm not snagging in that cover, I'm just bringing it above it. So use line diameter to your advantage when it comes to the depth that you want to achieve, and you can still, you know, use line diameter to adjust the, you know, how wide or how narrow this bait will work. So anyways, guys, those are just some tips on, you know, some things that relate to the fishing line that you're using, on how to achieve, you know, more action or less action, or more depth or less depth out of your jerkbait. I think that that's really, really important to think about. And in line with the jerkbait, I think is definitely one of the things that you have to consider on a day-to-day basis. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think about this video. Did I nail this topic? Is there anything that you would have added? And also, if you have any topics you want me to cover in any future videos, drop a comment below and let me know what that is. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions about any of the products that I talked about today, or you want to purchase them, use the affiliate links in the description below. Other than that, I'm going to see you out on the water. Trust the process.